Good day, fellow citizens and residents. This address is part of our continued commitment to updating the nation on our contingencies in education as we continue to respond to the threat of COVID-19. Today, I will speak to matters of assessment, both national and regional, the continued education of students, and the role of teachers during this period of continued physical school closure. National and regional assessments. There continue to be questions regarding the usual assessment of students for the transitioning to secondary schools. Students and parents have been asking specifically about test of standards, but national assessments consist of more than test of standards. In recent years, the Ministry of Education, through the Curriculum Development Unit, has administered national assessments for grades 4 and 6 in primary schools and common exams in selected subject areas for students in Forms 1 through 3 in secondary schools. Ordinary national examinations brings with it a certain level of anxiety for all stakeholders, and we are mindful that children, parents, and families at large are coping with the challenges inherent with protracted physical school closure and the transition to online and virtual education. Given the current education environment, we take great care to mitigate as much as possible the disadvantages which our current national context brings to bear for students. Consequently, in order to keep students safe and in alignment with public health guidance and physical school closures, the decision has been taken that national assessments, specifically the components of the test of standards and end-of-year secondary schools common examinations, will not be administered for the 2019-2020 academic year. Understanding the need to ensure that all students receive the necessary support to succeed in secondary school, measures are being put in place to address the transition of grade 6 students to secondary schools. The proposed approach will utilize the review of students' academic record for grade 5 and the existing grade 6 record for term 1 and 2 of the current academic year. Further, a process of consultation between grade 6 teachers and secondary schools will be facilitated to allow for the comprehensive review of students' performance. This method recommended for the transitioning of students to secondary schools is consistent with best practices in education and is in full alignment with not only the Ministry of Education's Sector Strategy Plan 2017 to 2021, but more specifically, it aligns with the curriculum review and enhancement process, which promotes the continuous and varied assessments of students' learning and performance. Most importantly, it is deemed to be in the best interest of the students. A similar process of assessments, utilizing marks from term 1 and 2, along with the teacher consultation, will guide the promotion of secondary students. Now, regarding regional examinations, as you are aware, a decision was taken recently within the OECS in support of CXC examinations being administered in July 2020. This decision arose out of a meeting of OECS Ministers of Education who endorsed taking a unified approach to regional examinations. Further, at a meeting of the CARICOM Ministers of Education, support was given to CXC examinations being held in July 2020. CXC made a policy decision on 26 March 2020 to offer a modified approach for the regular May-June examinations of 2020. In this modified approach, there would only be two components by which the students' final grades would be determined. The components are Paper 1, a multiple choice assessment and school-based assessments, SBAs, and Paper 032's alternative to SBAs for private candidates. Put simply, it means that students' overall grades for CSEC and CAPE would be determined from 2 instead of 3 assessment components. This means that the SBA component would now be carrying a heavier weight than in previous years. It is important to note that unlike previous years, CXC has requested 100% submission of SBAs and IAs, that is, the submission of all SBAs and IAs for candidates. This is necessary because of the modified approach being used, for where there will be no paper 2s and only paper 1s for almost all subject areas. In light of the policy decision to offer a modified approach to assessment, the Ministry of Education must act in the best interest of students registered for CXC, CSEC, and CAPE exams. To this end, we at the Ministry of Education are currently working with the National Task Force on COVID-19 towards the issuance of a special provision which would allow students currently registered to sit CSEC and CAPE examinations to receive direct teacher instruction to supplement current virtual education modalities being utilized towards exam preparation. The proposed education provision for students sitting CXC examinations is being made to support the completion of SBAs and practical components which are required elements of the modified CXC examination approach. As such, the proposed special provision for limited use of educational facilities for instruction will apply only to students identified by their institutions for supplemental exam preparation support. Thus, only students sitting overseas exams will be allowed access to schools and for the sole purposes of completing SBAs or IAs and other examination requirements. Beyond this provisional use of schools, I must reiterate that all educational institutions in St. Kitts and Nevis will remain closed for regular instruction until further notice. The continued education of students. The Ministry of Education continues to obtain guidance on infection prevention and control measures, screening, testing, and adapted classroom environments from our local experts within the Ministry of Health and the National Task Force on COVID-19. Based on the guidance received, health and safety protocols for schools are being developed and will include information on cleaning protocols for COVID-19, compliance measures for physical distancing, sanitization and hygiene within the physical plants of schools, and the use of personal protective equipment. Health advice is evolving, and the Ministry of Education will be guided by our local health experts with the foremost commitment to protecting the health, safety, and well-being of our students, teachers, and other school personnel. To keep students safe while maximizing learning opportunities, the layout of classrooms and the ways in which the provisional instructional support is provided will be adapted. The government has taken leadership to leverage all tools, resources, technologies, and services to assist schools to deliver equitable and effective continued education in the home. This is being pursued through access to technology and internet connectivity for students who do not have such access. Currently, devices for students are on island, and distribution will begin during the latter part of the week. A digital device in the hands of every student is a powerful vision, but we know that if the necessary technology infrastructure is insufficient, if teachers are not provided with the necessary technology resources to aid students in the use of their own devices, and if educators are not adequately trained in the techniques of technology integration for instruction and assessment in the classroom, then our efforts will not propagate. Technology is not the sole answer for a child's education. Having a good teacher is more important, and having supportive parents is equally important. In support of our teachers, we have secured 400 laptops for loans to teachers who indicated that they were in need of that technological support. Further, we have made provisions to ensure that internet is made available in 700 homes across St. Kitts and Nevis for this critical period when students are away from the regular school setting. In partnership with the Cable, Flow, and Digicel, installation of broadband internet has commenced in identified homes across St. Kitts and Nevis, and installations are expected to increase in coming weeks. We all recognize in this modern 21st century economy, technology helps, and this has never been more evident than now in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic. All over the world, education systems are turning to technology for the continued education of children. The provision of devices to both students and teachers is the necessary starting place. However, to generate the transformational change we so desperately need, it must be followed by measures to ensure uniform integration of technology in every class, provision of time for teacher learning and collaboration, and use of technology regularly by students for student online collaboration and cooperative learning. The successful transition to ICT integration in instruction and virtual learning rests largely on teachers, the leadership in the school, access to good professional development, and exposure to new instructional pedagogy to support online teaching and learning. These are among the crucial variables that we have been taking into consideration at the Ministry of Education as we continue to implement the Education Sector Strategy 2017 to 2021. Integral to this are our continued actions aimed at building capacity among our nation's educators. We are cognizant that teachers and educators at all levels of the education system would need to be better equipped for providing instruction in virtual classrooms. This informed teachers' training in the use of Microsoft Teams from 27 April 2020. As part of that continuing training process, resource materials in the form of training manuals and instructional videos on the use of MS Teams for virtual education are being created for teachers and students. These will be made available on the Ministry of Education website at www.education.gov.kn. The Ministry of Education is well on its way to implementing the online education platform MS Teams for the continued education of our students in the Federation. The staff of all public schools were exposed to the training, with about 96% of the staff from public schools participating in training sessions. It is estimated that 98% of private school teachers were also a part of the process. In order to ensure full utilization of MS Teams for virtual education, the Ministry of Education will continue to provide training for teachers, both public and private, by conducting additional online training sessions in MS Teams. Critically, the process of bringing students onto the platform is also well underway. Schools have been asked to submit student enrollment information so the virtual classroom space can be created for all schools in MS Teams. It is expected that this week, schools that have submitted the required information will be able to begin using MS Teams for teacher-student interactions. Recognizing that the transition to using MS Teams will be handled with varying degrees of ease for students, teachers, and parents, a virtual help desk with live agents has been established to answer any technical questions and provide troubleshooting for those getting acquainted with the platform. More information on accessing the help desk will be provided in the upcoming week. Additionally, an interactive student orientation course for MS Teams tailored for both the primary and the secondary levels is being developed and will be made available for all teachers and students on the platform. The course is intended to help students learn how to use all the basic features of MS Teams that will be needed to participate successfully in classes. As the MS Team environment becomes available to schools, it is advised that students and teachers get acquainted with accessing the platform and exploring its functionality before commencing with formal lessons. The role of teachers during this period of continued physical school closure. During this period of great educational transformation, teachers are expected and required to do the following: make themselves available for training, participate in matters related to school administration, provide virtual instruction, and where necessary, provide support within their school in whatever capacity they are called upon to serve by their principals. Teachers, as you begin to carry out instruction with your students, you are advised to adhere to the directives of your principals and the Chief or Principal Education Officer with respect to the timetable, lesson planning, and the coverage of curriculum content. The connection between a student, their peers, and their teacher is more important than ever. Teachers, while this is by no means a normal education situation, it is critically important to engage your students through the MS Teams platform and to provide them access to a school community support network and learning experience. Over the remaining weeks of the current school year, the Ministry of Education will engage parents, students, educators, and health experts on a plan for the safe return of students to our schools. The education system remains a top priority for the National Task Force on COVID-19, and we are avidly working together to ensure schools and classrooms represent the safest learning environments possible. I am appealing to all of us to continue to work to ensure the continued health and safety of our nation's citizens and residents. We can, by our individual and collective actions, prevent the coronavirus from wreaking havoc on our nation, particularly our people. Thus, I urge us all to continue to follow all the precautionary recommendations and guidelines outlined by our government, acting on the advice of the National COVID-19 Task Force. Let us continue to uphold the appropriate hygiene protocols and practice the necessary physical distancing to limit the spread of the virus. Our government has been consistently clear. The health and well-being of our nation's children guide every decision we make with respect to education. We will get through this together, and in doing so, we'll always work in the best interests of our children, our teachers, our families, and our federation. May God bless you, and may God continue to bless our beloved federation. Thank you.